Hello and welcome to another episode of Rose Guns Days. I look a little different today, and that is because I did a big oopsie and did not actually save the VOD. That was the actual episode that this was supposed to be. See, how it works is on Twitch you have a 2-week window to save and download your VOD. And I missed that window by a day because of the holidays. Which means that VOD is now, it's gone. Lost to the sands of time and, the folks over at Twitch. Obviously this is my bad. And that's why I'm redoing the episode. I'm redoing the episode. But, I'll give it my all, and to keep things a little more fun and make it a little different for myself, we're using Iggy today. And I classed him up a bit with some effects, some special bloom effects, and some lighting, and just, yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it all again. I don't like repetition, so this is not gonna be fun for me, but hopefully it'll be fun for you to watch. It is a good episode. I already know what's going to happen this time. Roughly, it's been a while. It'll be a good refresher, if anything, for myself. Nothing too scary, nothing too exciting, but we will start you off with the usual content warning. Haha, took a while to pop up. Content warning for violence, gun violence, racism, sexual content including references to assault, misogyny, alcohol abuse, characters dealing with trauma, depression, and other mental issues. I, for once, do know what's going to happen, and it's a pretty lighthearted episode this time around. Yeah. So let's dive in. All right. So where the YouTube version of events left off, and not the Twitch version. The kids investigate a warehouse where the backdoor employment agency likely is run from, and there they uncover evidence that, yeah, that warehouse is where a backdoor employment agency is being run from. However, they are caught mostly because they knock out one of the guards to actually get into the building and take pictures. Oops. And they need to fight their way out. They do really well, actually. They've been working together as a team to great effect. But at the last second, there's 2 people chasing them, and they're having a difficult time chasing them off, and they are almost caught. However, Zell turns out to be pretty good at fighting. Maybe he's got some martial arts skills from somewhere she herself doesn't even know. Just manages to fight off their pursuers through muscle memory alone, and then they bring the evidence to Rose. Unfortunately, having the evidence is good, of course, but that does mean that Rose's hand is forced. She now has to make a move against the Golden Dragon Society because they're kind of working behind everyone's backs. And that might break the peace that she's been trying to maintain together with Meiju. And it might piss off Meiju. That's something she's definitely worried about. Richard, on the other hand, well, he was hoping for this to happen. He wanted something like this to happen. Because, He's a bit more pessimistic, shall we say, than Rose is. And, yeah. Yeah. That's where he left off. This is so weird, because I feel like I get this really weird sense of deja vu, and at the same time, it's also been... At this point, it's been 3 weeks since the last time I read any Rose Guns Days related stuff, so it's... It's, you know, it's a new year and everything, and I don't remember fully what happened last time that I read this story. You know what? Yeah, like I said before, that's a good thing. This is a refresher. I'm just gonna get going. Good work, Wayne. I just hope I was able to help Rose-san. But of course, it was quite an accomplishment. It was just some of our young ones being reckless. Oh? Quite impressive for young ones. They must put spies to shame. Going forward, it will be essential for Primavera to have people who can perform skillful jobs, ones involving more than simply aggravating matters. Particularly when Chinatown is involved. Reward them handsomely for this accomplishment. I think this happened last time too, but I forgot Oliver's voice. Okay, it's like stuck up rat. Stuck up rat. I can do that. I can do that. Hey! Wayne-san's here! Charles and Nina, who had been jumping around excitedly, stopped and stood at attention. Without even thinking about it, Zell copied them and stood at attention too. Feel free to sit. You did well, but that was reckless of you. As he took off his jacket, Wayne spoke bluntly. Right after the success of their plan, they had been excited about the praise they would surely get, but as the excitement died down, they started wondering if they had been guilty of doing something outrageous. True enough, they had taken conclusive photos. If they had managed that without anyone seeing them, then it truly would have been a perfect score. However, they had taken out that first guard and beaten up 3 more people during their escape. In their excitement, they had probably spoken in Japanese a lot. In other words, it should be obvious that the intruders were Japanese. And for that to happen now, when they had been told to avoid any trouble with Chinatown. By the time they thought that far out, it was hard to imagine that Wayne was coming here to reward them. If they were lucky, the good and the bad would cancel out, and they wouldn't be on the hook for anything. It was also possible that they'd sparked up new troubles, which could mean that they'd be kicked out of the Wild Dogs. The 4 of them were silent, with faces like defendants awaiting the court's decision. Whose idea was it to try and pull something so dangerous? That's something all of us. We're sorry, Aniki Wayne. Even we're wild dogs. We wanted to help you, Wayne-san. The 3 all stood up at once, each claiming to be the main perpetrator. Of course, it was still obvious that Zell was the one behind this. Rapunzel. You are a guest, and not a fellow wild dog. She might not be a wild dog, but she's one of us. I believe I told you she was Madame Rose's guest. If something happened to her, how are you planning to take responsibility? Well, that's... Oops. I was the one who suggested that we do it. They did nothing wrong. In that case, Rapunzel, that means you try to drag my comrades into something dangerous. That's right. Zell only proposed the idea. After that, we were the ones who decided to go through it. To go through with a plan this crazy, without consulting me? If we did consult you, would you have let us do it? I would have made a decision after considering the matter carefully. Wayne-san, there's something I'd like to make clear right now. These people aren't wild dog dropouts. Here we go. Here we go with the animal analogy. Just the never-ending... Whoops. My tracking is bad today. I don't know why. Anyway, let's just ignore that and move on. They're all young wolves. They want to be like you. Have you responded to their passion with anything? Have you done anything for them? You might think of yourself as a king of wolves, with dozens of underlings to serve you. But to them, you're special. You're what they admire, their gold, their everything. Just now, you said something about dragging your comrades into something dangerous. But if it meant that you might acknowledge them, none of these people were afraid. The only thing that terrifies them all is the thought of you ignoring them and refusing to acknowledge them. I've never intended to to ignore them, excuse me. However, if it felt that way to you, allow me to apologize. Is what Rapunzel just said the way all of you feel? That's right. Zell spoke for our feelings. Oliver, is it the same for you? Yes. We're wild dogs. We want to live as wolves. Like you. Wayne sighed and sat down on the sofa. Then, he looked up at the ceiling and spoke. What is happening? Apologies if I jump all over the place. I don't know why that's happening. It's not normal. And I don't know how to fix it. The wild dogs are a pack of wolves. A pack is a group of individuals who obey their leader. If you can't obey, then I can't have you as wild dogs. There was an unpleasant silence. No matter how great their accomplishment, it was a fact that they had shown off too much. Kicked out of the wild dogs. It wasn't a punishment they couldn't have predicted. They couldn't have predicted. Nikki Wayne. Wayne-san. It's okay, Zell. Wayne-san's made up his mind. We always were wild dog dropouts. Even so, we were able to become wolves, if only for a little while. And we managed to bring back some vital evidence for Primavera's sake. And are you happy with that? Are you really okay with that? if Wayne-san told me to offer up my life, I'd do it any day. Wayne-san told us to offer up our lives as wild dogs. We couldn't disobey him.
Well, I guess it's more than enough that we got to show Wayne-san how we feel. We're all pretty dumb. This is the only way we can show our affection. We all love Aniki Wayne. If that got through, even just a little, that's enough.
Aniki Wayne. Thanks for all you've done for us. Charles was moved to tears. So was Nina, and probably Oliver too. Zell kept her mouth shut and waited for Wayne to open his heart. Strap in, folks, because it's about to get worse with the animal analogies. If you've got no place in a pack of wolves, then you're wolves who wander. Having left the wild dogs, you 4 wolves will wander the wilderness. You aren't wild dogs anymore. You're wandering dogs. I'm trying, I'm sorry. You're wandering dogs. I think that was vaguely better, I don't know. At that word, the 4 of them looked at each other. They didn't understand what he was saying. From here on out, we'll call you the Wandering Dogs. Alright then. If you're willing to put your life in my hands, I'll accept it. After all, being so reckless that you'd risk your life to sneak into a Chinatown base and bring back photos. That's something no wild dog could do. However, I'm your leader. I don't mind what sort of crazy plans you think up, but always consult me about them. Are you really so determined to accomplish something great? Yes. Are you so determined to live to be like me? You're a living legend, Aniki Wayne. We want to become legendary men too. Even you, Nina? In the world of wolves, you won't get special treatment because you're a woman.
I never had any of a woman's weapons in the first place. And I don't want to become a lady of the evening. I want to become a cool woman who works in the underworld.
Rapunzel.
Yes, sir.
Rosan told me to let you do whatever you pleased. If you want to live as a wolf, I have no right to stop you.
I'm Rapunzel.
The 4 of us are comrades. If you live as a wolf, you'll have to obey the laws of the wolf. Are you willing to call me boss?
Yes, boss.
And are the rest of you okay with that? Do you acknowledge Rapunzel as one of your comrades?
Of course. Without Zell, we'd still be losers. Zell's practically our leader, right?
Yes. If Zell tells me to do something, I'll do it. Very impressive, Rapunzel. No. Zell. To think that you managed to earn the respect of that wild kid Oliver in such a short span of time. On that one point alone, I have no choice but to acknowledge your accomplishment.
They just didn't know how to take advantage of their talents. All I did was show them how to do that.
You remind me of Rose-san somehow.
You think so?
Just in the atmosphere around you. Now, you have my consent. Wayne rose and put on his jacket. As wandering dogs, be true to your name and wander the city. Hone your sense of smell. Uncover things that seem out of place and become my eyes and ears and nose. And always keep your fangs sharp so you can bear them when the time is right. Yes, Wayne-san. It wouldn't have been right for me to praise your recklessness in front of everyone else. However, I've been more reckless than you, and Rose-san has been even more reckless still. And even if you added all of us up, we could never be as reckless as Leo.
The legendary
That's not what she sounds like.
Leo Shishigami? We want to build a reckless legend like you and Leo.
Hidden behind our recklessness, we had a careful plan and preparation. It may have looked like a reckless fight, but it was a victory we earned. When you eventually accomplish something, people will probably call it reckless. But if you plan carefully, it isn't. It's a natural result. If your recklessness is thoroughly concentrated and carefully planned, then one day, your recklessness might also become a legend. Zell, look after them.
Yes, boss.
You were the person I met back then, instead of Rose-san. My fate might have been different. I'll give you this too, Zell. This is for you, for the consigliere. Wayne pulled an envelope from his jacket and handed it to Zell.
By consigliere, you mean Richardson?
What could it be?
This is 10 new $1,000 bills? $10,000? Yeah. Holy crap! I could buy like 100 Nikuman with this.
Wayne-san. That's a gift from Richardson. Take it. However, don't let that money go to your head and never jump the gun again. You are wandering dogs. I'm your boss. From now on, always consult me before carrying anything out. Got that?
Yes, boss.
After all, I'm practically an embodiment of recklessness. I've got no right to lecture you.
Wayne-san. I mean, boss. Thanks for acknowledging us.
I'm expecting a lot from you. Zell, Oliver, Charles, Nina. I look forward to seeing what the wandering dogs will do next. At the same moment Wayne left and closed the door, the four of them let out joyous war cries. Wayne shrugged and looked up at the light on the second floor of the music shop. That must be how I look to Leo. They make me so worried I can't look away for a second. As Wayne got into the car, the side of his face was illuminated for an instant by a passing car. He didn't look even remotely unhappy. Wander the city. Become my eyes and ears. And always keep your fangs sharp. I've been waiting for this day. I'm on fire.
Zell, thank you. You were so cool. It's all thanks to you speaking up. We are the Wandering Dogs. A secret unit made up of just us four. Yeah, I'm sure we'll make a legend together.
Yeah. Let's do it. Madame Rose was the sort who liked to plan ahead carefully. That was only natural, since she started from a position where she had to unite those devious ladies of the evening. However, it wasn't as though political decisions would be enough to resolve everything. You mean, to resolve the labor issue quickly, it was necessary to be a little forceful? That certainly was Richard's view. They couldn't just ask the out-of-work laborers to please wait longer because they were still negotiating. Poor laborers were Primavera's greatest supporters. If they couldn't match up to the laborers' expectations, their support would plummet, and Primavera would lose its power. If the organization weakened, it would break apart, or it might invite meddling from organizations in other cities. Exactly. It would revert back to the earlier Dark Era. Never again would people be able to speak up and call for everyone to protect their fellow countrymen. To Richard, it was more important for Primavera to gain support than it was for them to reach an agreement with Lady Meiju. So, Madame Rose's way of doing things was too polite? Can we be sure about that? The Chinese valued their pride above all else. On the other hand, if the Japanese were given the choice of accepting a candy offered to them with a respectful bow, or else crawling on the floor to pick up a stack of bills someone had thrown there, they would choose the latter. It was a cruel example, but Julie couldn't argue back. The way the Japanese prioritized profit over love of their countrymen was still the same, even in the 21st century. I apologize for the cruel metaphor. What I'm trying to say is that the Japanese and the Chinese have different senses of value. Just like the Japanese proverb, all's well that ends well. The Japanese are a people who put the focus on the result, ignoring the past and the process, while the Chinese put more emphasis on the process. As a half-Japanese person herself, Madame Rose probably understood the different sets of values foreigners had. At that moment, Primavera's greatest rival was the GDS. If you consider that they would have been able to maintain the peace as long as no trouble was stirred up with the GDS, then you might say that Richard's discord-causing methods were mistaken. Richard had probably thought that the carrot of the special offers window deal would cancel out the stick of a rushed union. I'm pretty sure I stumbled over this one last time too. Richard had probably thought that the carrot of the special offers window deal would cancel out the stick of a rushed union creation. From Chinatown's perspective, this looked like he was tossing a bundle of bills on the ground and making them pick it up. By their sense of value, no matter how attractive the special offers windows might be, they couldn't agree because of the process that damaged their honor. So, if Primavera forced the creation of a union, the GDS's honor would be damaged
they still wouldn't agree to the special offers window deal. So, would they just give up and accept defeat? They are a resilient people. They wouldn't give up on the special offers windows over something like pride. They wouldn't pick up a special offers window that someone had thrown on the floor, but they could accept one if presented to them with a deep bow. In that case, they simply had to arrange matters so that it would be possible for them to accept it. What does that mean? Rather than having it given to them as a reward for agreeing to the Union project, which was humiliating to Chinatown, it would be much more convenient to make Primavera surrender and have them offer it as compensation, under the guise of it being a token of their friendship. The old City 23 special offers windows had been outside the GDS's reach. No human wants things they can never get. However, once they find it might be possible to get something, that all changes. Madame Rose didn't want to make them lose face, so she offered them the special offers windows. Richard was too anxious to ignore them and prioritize his own countrymen. So he forcefully proposed the creation of a union. Those two goals caused an unfortunate chemical reaction and became the sparks that ignited the next war. Chapter 2. Wild dogs have dreams of becoming wolves. End. Ah, dang. I can't remember what this high score means, but there was something about it. I totally forgot though. In a certain hotel, there was a gathering of newspaper reporters and Japanese VIPs from City 23, all bathed in the light of bright camera flashes. Those flashes were centered on a large signboard with vertical writing on it. These were the words written on that majestic signboard in beautiful, handwritten characters. The City 23 Japanese Countrymen's Labor Union. This is our first experiment in creating a new post-war society for our Japanese countrymen in City 23. A society where all people help each other out. The occupying forces will prioritize local businesses when giving business orders. Local businesses will prioritize local laborers when employing workers. And local laborers will spend their money locally, creating financial circulation on a local basis. I prefer to think of this model case for local restoration as just one social experiment carried out under GHQ's supervision.
Modern Tokyo is filled with people of varying races, nationalities, and backgrounds. Even in this City 23 alone, colonies of Japanese, American, and Chinese people have been established. They all have their own differing cultures, differing languages, and differing lifestyles. In other words, in this mingled state of affairs, a city is not the smallest division of administration. In that sense, what we are proposing is truly the smallest unit of administration.
We will be a bridge between the city government and our Japanese countrymen. By doing so, we will encourage the development of our local society and continue to contribute to society at large. That is the founding principle of our City 23 Japanese Countrymen's Labor Union. The establishment of the City 23 Japanese Countrymen's Labor Union was announced far and wide. Its impact was immense, and it became plastered across newspapers all over eastern Tokyo. Across City 23, newspaper extras were printed, and Japanese laborers welcomed it with applause. Long live City 23! Long live the Countrymen's Union! Long live Primavera! Long live Madame Rose! Now I'll finally be able to work. I'll be able to earn money and go back to my wife. Once you guys get more money, our shop will thrive too. Even the soup might get a little less bland. Hilarious. So mean, what the fuck? The nighttime city, packed with laborers, was filled with joy until long after dark. And the voices praising this accomplishment didn't go away even after dawn came. For the first time, residents of City 23 were glad to be residents of City 23. And so, Primavera would now be remembered not only as the ruler of the criminal underworld, but as an organization for the mutual aid of their countrymen. Of course, several predictable problems arose. First, there were the laborers from other cities who were being turned away. Some of them called this a human rights violation and began complaining to political newspapers aimed at laborers. However, Primavera had already finished laying a careful groundwork, and this criticism was sidestepped by pointing out the root cause was the low wages in other cities. And so, they succeeded in turning the frustration held by laborers in other cities towards the employers in their own cities. As a result, several demonstrations sprung up in the cities around City 23, demanding large pay raises. Across Tokyo as a whole, there was massive turmoil, but City 23 itself was in a peaceful eye of the storm. Of course, to establish a union with this much influence, it had been necessary to lay a careful groundwork. Not just with the local occupying forces, but with the GHQ itself. With beautiful women and enormous financial resources, cajoling important people was Primavera's strongest talent. The GHQ defended Primavera, issuing an opinion that this wasn't a problem generated by City 23, but rather a series of labor problems that should be tackled by all cities. Also a factor was the desire held by US Army higher-ups to show off their approval of Japanese self-governance in their cities and gain popularity. This was all thanks to the work Primavera had done with the GHQ through Butler. The other cities would probably be turbulent for a while with labor troubles. However, people would probably bend to the laborers' demands eventually, and they would see some level of wage raises in other cities too. There are several small problems in addition to this one. Primavera made the requirement of becoming a union member possession of Japanese citizenship and proof of residence in City 23 for at least 1 year. This meant that problems sprang up with laborers who had lived here for just under 1 year. And with those who hadn't changed their certificates of It's okay, I got this. And with those who hadn't changed their certificates of residence. Sometimes I trip over the most random shit, and then I start overthinking it, and it just keeps happening, even though it's fine. Like, it's fine. And with those who hadn't changed their is the there tripping me up?
The there is tripping me up. And with those who hadn't changed their certificates of residence after leaving other cities. On the other side, some harsh observers felt that those who had abandoned City 23 right away, before being drawn back by the promise of high wages, had no love for their countrymen or their hometown. No matter how they tweaked the details, borders would have to be drawn somewhere and would become a source of friction. No policy exists that can satisfy 100% of people. No matter how hard you try, the best you can achieve is satisfying 90% of people, forcing the other 10% to be discontent. Policies often get abandoned because of that 10%, a situation which is often called the negligence of the administration. Because of that, it might have been impossible for such radical reform to be carried out by anyone other than a non-governmental organization. If we assume that 90% of city dwellers supported the Union and 10% didn't, then, in the shadows of the citywide celebration, that 10% was whispering their discontent toward Madame Rose. However, it would be wrong to fear being hurt by the voices of that 10%. That is what it means for a person to bear the brunt, take the lead, and suffer the first wounds. What about Japan in the 21st century? Is it possible that the government and administration are too concerned with hurting people? In a country with 100 million people, they are afraid of even one person voicing their discontent and hurting them. Through the internet, the voice of that one person spreads to the mass media. The mass media, which gets higher ratings when they criticize the government, treats that person as though it speaks for the people of the country. Because they're terrified of being heard. Those running the government and the administration keep putting things off without resolving anything. Aren't we awkwardly carrying the various problems of the old century, many of which are teetering on the brink of disaster, with us into the 21st century? Madame Rose walked forward through the opposing winds. She must not be afraid of being hurt. That's the sort of resolve needed by someone standing at the spearhead of her ideals. Only those who have no fear for such things can pull their era forward. As a member of Chinatown, I have failed. But, as a personal friend, I would like to show my respect for your decisive judgment, Rosa. I apologize for what we've done. As a friend, I am grateful for the sentiment. However, as fellow leader of one's own countrymen, I find it just a tad shameful. You are a dragon, after all. There is no need for you to turn around and apologize. Simply look forward and remain resolute. Thank you very much, Meiji-san. However, I can imagine this announcement of ours causing a big disturbance in Chinatown. Oh, great and terrible it most certainly will be. An uproar that will leave it covered in holes. The last and biggest problem of the Union announcement was Chinatown. Because of Primavera's countrymen first policy, the Chinese would be kicked out of the space in front of the employment agency, practically speaking. At the moment, the discontent and grumbling felt by Chinese laborers was probably focused on the GDS, their countrymen's organization. I really did want to step forward with your solid consent.
There's no helping it. That photo was fatal indeed. According to Meiju's explanation, the GDS exec who set up the backdoor employment agency wasn't his subordinate. He said it was a side job set up by a big exec from the main GDS group in City 22, who had sidestepped Meiju. However, this wasn't a child's playground. It was the criminal underworld. As the boss of Small Rock Chinatown, Lee Meiju couldn't claim to be ignorant about business conducted on his turf. Even if his excuses happened to be true, Primavera couldn't afford to accept them. It is shameful, but even the GDS has factions within it. I am with the faction supporting the previous leader. As such, I am not particularly well liked by those supporting the Council of Elders. In fact, I am glad for the actions Primavera has just taken. From Meiju's perspective, his careful negotiations with Primavera had been crushed by the personal business of a council supporter. Meiju was cunning. He was probably planning to use this as a card to attack the opposing faction. However, his opponents on the council side were the same. They were probably planning to find fault with Meiju, assign him to a different post, and send someone from their faction to act as Small Rock Chinatown's boss. It was certainly conceivable that they would succeed in placing the blame for this incident on Meiju alone.
Is there any assistance we could provide to improve your position? If we could make a deal regarding the special offers windows, I believe that should earn you a lot of credit.
Indeed it would. Small Rock Chinatown has desired that special offers window so much, we would trade our right arm for it.
Then let's start negotiations right away and build a Chinese union.
I had planned on doing so, but the main group has interfered. How foolish this all is. If only they would seriously consider improving labor conditions for their countrymen like you have done. The minds of the elders are filled with nothing but their own shares and factional rivalries. Rose spoke for all of Primavera, but Meiju was only middle management, serving underneath the main group of the GDS.
If there's any way I can help by speaking with the GDS main group.
I appreciate the sentiment. The Chinese are complicated. It isn't a matter that a Japanese person could come in and resolve. I ask that you leave this matter in my hands for the time being.
If there's ever a way I can help, please let me know. I don't abandon my friends.
Fear not. There are no problems. No, perhaps one.
What's that?
At all times, stay true to yourself. Do not lose sight of who you are. If you remember that, I will be very reassured. Meiju might have been prepared for a purge to occur. After all, most HR decisions in the criminal underworld are settled with blood. However, Rose couldn't afford to lose Meiju. Meiju was her only connection to the GDS. If Primavera lost him, they would be searching around with their hands in a dark room, along with the monster called the GDS. If either party managed to grasp the other's hands, all well and good. However, if they bumped elbows or bumped heads, both would think the other had attacked them, and the feud could easily break out. And so, she wanted to do as much as she could as a peace offering to Meiju. No matter what happens, follow the dragon's path you believe in. If you don't, I won't be able to rest in peace. Meiju smiled as though he'd reached a philosophical understanding. Rose thought. She thought that her ideals might have resulted in him being sacrificed too. However, she couldn't avert her gaze.
Meiju-san.
It is possible that this will be our final party. The next person who takes up my post will surely be someone who displays no understanding of the Japanese at all. It may result in fighting between the GDS and Primavera. When that happens, will you stick to your dragon's aims? I will always continue to watch over you, to see whether you do or not.
Yes. No matter what happens, I will continue to uphold what you taught me about dragons.
You mustn't look back. Not for someone like me. Walk down your own path. I look forward to the new City 23 you'll make.
Thank you, Meiju-san.
As Meiju's car left, Rose watched it go, filled with emotions. You mustn't be afraid of being hurt. You mustn't look back. Not for someone like me.
Get the car. I'm returning to Primavera. I'm returning to Primavera. I can pronounce words correctly.
Yes, madam.
I've already started walking. I mustn't stop. I mustn't let anyone stop me. Not until I can create a society of our countrymen where everyone helps each other.
Chapter 3. Drops of the Soul. I don't think there's anything that can excite the young more than being acknowledged and relied upon. This caught me off guard last time, and I fucked up a lot.
Oliver, your movements are great.
You think so? Maybe I should train in some shed every day, like Wayne-san. At first, Oliver had been the type who coldly ignored compliments. However, that was just because he wasn't used to being complimented. By now, he was completely used to smiling embarrassedly whenever Zell commended him. In her mental record book, Zell had secretly labeled him as a kid who improves when praised.
Still, that nihilist attitude is pretty embarrassing.
Shut up! That's my sense of aesthetics. After yelling in embarrassment, he started shadowboxing. His fighting skill had already been proven effective against large bodyguards. However, it's rarely possible for a large, finishing blow to get a clean hit in a real battle. For that to work, you need an opening.
And Charles, your movements keep getting more polished. To me, knocking your opponent out isn't the only goal in hand-to-hand fighting. You can also get your opponent off balance to generate an opening, or use such an opening to escape or steal their weapon. No matter how much someone like me trains, I could never be like Oliver or Aniki Wayne. But I can do stuff no one else can copy.
For a long time, the short Charles had been depressed because he thought offensive power was all that mattered in fighting. However, once he learned his genius-level pickpocket skills and nimbleness could be weapons, he created a style of fighting that no one could emulate.
For example, if you grab their jacket from behind and pull it halfway down, it's like having their hands cuffed behind them. And ties are basically the same as attaching a collar to your own neck.
He says while wearing a tie.
If you go like this, grabbing their tie as you circle around them, then pull really hard from behind at a steep angle.
If you did it at full speed in a real battle, his throat would be crushed and he'd choke in an instant.
You could use that opening to run away or even hold them down.
Yeah, you could. If you could spin them around with a circular motion and mess up their center of balance.
Then even someone as short as little Charles could hold down a huge guy.
The other day, when the three of them had taken that guard out together, Charles had been given the job of creating an opening. It had worked so beautifully that he'd understood and awoken to his own personal style. Small and weak men can never become strong fighters, because he thought that the shock of this revelation was enough to change his life.
Know yourself and take advantage of your strengths. Our goal is being a number one like Wayne-san. We aren't him. Once we've honed our unique traits, we'll be able to become number ones alongside Wayne-san. And I'm sure my slingshot will come in handy too. Your perfect accuracy is weapon enough. There's no sound of gunfire, and no one dies. If you can use those traits, it should be possible to accomplish all sorts of things.
Being able to force an opening in someone a long ways away, like at the backdoor agency, is huge.
Back then, you even managed to knock their guns out of their hands.
Even though the Wandering Dogs were a team working directly under Wayne, they still weren't given permission to use guns. This is good because they are children. I think. Yeah, no, they are children. Wayne would never approve of guns and alcohol for minors. It's good that he has like some boundaries, I guess. Though it's hard to imagine that he followed that rule when he was a minor.
It's the only projectile weapon the Wandering Dogs have. The distance Nina can cover becomes the distance we can cover. Yup. And if we measure our reach by what we had back then
we have the ability to instantly incapacitate enemies within a radius of 10 meters.
More than that. With Nina's skill alone, our strength doubles or even triples. Dang, I'm awesome. Glad I stuck with slingshotting, rain or shine.
As she got excited, Nina started training with her slingshot again. I said dang like so loud and took so much breath doing that I made myself a little dizzy. This is how I die, by saying dang, I'm awesome. What a way to go. Her target was outside the window. The signboard sticking out of a building all the way across the street. Good kids should never imitate this. It was a very long-range target. Even with a gun, it wouldn't be at all easy to hit it at this range. However, Nina pulled back hard on the string, focused on the target, eyes of a hawk. It was the sound of the ball piercing the air. A moment later, a faint metallic sound rang out, and they saw the sign swinging.
And there you have it. Whoa, nice.
Damn, I missed one. Definitely did better than last time. Although, my ranking is the same. Double Snakes, 1948. I'll take it though. By the way, what about you, Zell? Have you remembered anything about judo? The other day, a man attacked Zell from behind, and she took him out with a magnificent throw. That sort of movement wasn't possible unless you'd learned it.
Back then, my body just moved all of a sudden. But if I try to think about it, my mind just goes blank. No need to force yourself. You're our commander, after all. That's right. If Zell has to fight, you guys fail as men.
If we obey Zell, we'll be able to wield our strengths with maximum efficiency.
It isn't about who fights. It's about how we combine our strengths. We can still aim to be a lot better. Let's all work harder, make use of opportunities, and become legends. Yeah! So, seeing that everyone's happily doing their best, I've got a huge announcement today. It's seriously huge. It'll shock you. No doubt about it.
Let's back up to Club Primavera on the previous day.
Here, Meryl-san. Thanks a lot for your help the other day. I heard all about it. Is it true that my camera was used to take photographic evidence of the GDS's plot?
We're very sorry for not telling you about it. To be honest, we didn't think you'd let us take it if we told you.
Of course I'd let you take it. What kind of woman do I look like to you?
You wanted to keep it secret until you accomplished something big by yourselves, didn't you? We're really sorry. These were two of Club Primavera's favorites and highest-ranking members, Ella and Meryl. It was a bit hard to believe, but they once joined the fight against the Caleb family, along with Madame Rose. They were apparently two of the legendary 7 who took part in that majestic gunfight. Even that frail-looking Madame Rose apparently had a showdown with the enemy leader in a big hotel and defeated him with her own gun. The women of Club Primavera are strong. I can't let myself fall behind.
Brother, that Zell girl from the rumors is here. The one from the spy team that took that picture.
Going from really high pitched to really low. Oh no. Okay, I got this. I got this. I don't got this at all. You know what I got? Nothing.
My. A triumphant return for our heroine.
Hello, Mr. Consigliere.
Thanks to the great efforts of you four made, we were able to expose the schemes of the GDS. Your work is part of the reason we were able to accelerate our plans for the Countrymen's Union, which residents of our city have been waiting so long for. Your brave actions have saved so many of us. Allow me to thank you again.
It's nothing of the sort, Mr. Consigliere. We only did what any member of Primavera would do.
Ah, yes. I heard from Wayne. It seems you've joined his crew.
Huh? Really? Wayne's planning to make a girl with such pretty skin fight? It's what I wanted. Please don't worry about it. I've got no desire to be treated like a princess just because I'm a woman. I like that. We're entering an era where women will move up in society. There's nothing strange about a woman making a name in the criminal underworld. I guess so. Then you'd better give it your... Then you'd better give it your all.
Meryl's still tripping me up. I told Wayne to reward you all, but has he done so?
Oh, yes. He gave us a full $10,000. Oh, but wasn't that from you?
What's this? Even after such a great accomplishment, he hasn't given you any reward himself. That won't do. It's about time Wayne learned how to maintain morale among his subordinates.
I'll bet Yuji-kun gets spoiled a lot. When he's outside, brother might treat people like horses. But at home, he's the horse.
What does that mean, so? What does that mean? I guess it's like he works hard for his family, and at work he makes other people work. I guess that's what that means, but I don't know. At least horses are a nice break from all the wolf and dog talk. My. I'll have to give Wayne a good talking to later. If there's anything you desire, tell me at any time. I believe those who achieve results should be suitably rewarded.
Could I ask just one selfish favor? You're all interested in the elite guard for Madame Rose, which Wayne-san was rumored to be assembling, right? Congratulations! The Wandering Dogs have been selected to join Madame Rose's temporary elite guard. What? Not long from now, they say Madame Rose is going to Chiba. We've received the honor of joining her guard group when she does. Her actual guard will be formed by adult veterans. So we'll be, well, more like attendants. However, unlike any of the adult guards, we've got the noses and instincts of alley rats, so Wayne-san's apparently expecting a lot from us. This is the first job for the newly formed Wandering Dogs. I spoke directly to the consigliere and got it for us. How'd you like them apples?
Apples?
Awesome! We've got ourselves a huge job, even if it's just for a day. Amazing, Zell. When'd you manage to get us that? If one wants to be a leader, they must be passionate about business too.
No plan you've brought us has ever been a waste.
It's a chance it's a chance for us to show Aniki Wayne what we've got directly.
I don't know why that sentence came out that way, but I'm rolling with it. He's so excited he's stumbling on his words. Let's go with that.
Well, it doesn't mean a chance to show off will just drop into our laps. Still, I can't stop imagining stuff. I'll bet Oliver's imagination's in full force too, and he's just pretending to read. Hey, your book's upside down again?
Shut up! I was merely simulating possible eventualities inside my head.
Woo! Me too! Even though we're supposed to be guards, I keep hoping some assassin would come in and attack us. If we get attacked, it means we've already failed as guards. Real guards put pressure on the opponent and make them give up in their attack. Let's do good work and make Wayne-san acknowledge us even more. These kids are kind of cute, doing their best and getting all fired up in the criminal underworld.
The ambitious young are a treasure in all eras and all countries.
Still, as I listen, it feels like the atmosphere of the times changed a lot. It felt a lot more bleak and savage during the time Madame Rose and Father Caleb were at each other's throats.
True. Only 1 year of time had passed. However, during that year, it's probably accurate to say that City 23 was reborn into something beyond recognition.
I think those were the fruits of Madame Rose's efforts. First by...
Oh, no, that's Jean talking. Yep. First, by uniting the criminal underworld, she suppressed the feuds within City 23. Next, she gathered up special offers windows and, by removing swindling middlemen, was able to improve wages for laborers. And then, by forming a labor union for her countrymen, she constructed a system by which her countrymen could take advantage of those wage raises. Her achievement, pushing all this through in a Tokyo where colonies of Japanese were being weeded out one by one, was beyond measure. It probably won't surprise you to hear that many Japanese neighborhoods were created in City 23, even though they were rare in Tokyo. Yeah, it's sort of like she was less of an underworld boss and more of a mayor or a politician. True. She may have been the head of a Japanese self-governing unit in City 23, subjugating the criminal underworld, improving wages for laborers. And the next goal she wanted to accomplish was culture, particularly food culture. We do keep hearing about how no one can get soy sauce. In old Japan, it was such an important ingredient that they called it a drop of the Japanese soul. At that time, Japanese soy sauce production had dropped steeply. It only circulated amongst a few rich people as an ultra-luxury item. It became something the common man couldn't easily get his hands on. Madame Rose wanted to improve this situation and make it possible for housewives to obtain soy sauce for home use. To do that, she needed to focus on soy sauce distribution and, above all, production.
So when Madame Rose left to go to Chiba.
Correct. Since before the war, Chiba was Japan's leading producer of soy sauce. Soy sauce is just like everything else. Where people gather, money gathers, and villains who are after that money complain. So, those involved in the Chiba soy sauce industry were forced to huddle beneath a person who would protect them.
In other words, she'd have to talk to the family boss in power in Chiba.
Exactly. And that boss was Satomi Yoshikage, president of the Satomi Alliance. He was a crafty boss of that organization, which had existed since before the war. Unlike Madame Rose, he was a full-fledged resident of the criminal underworld. However, without his consent, they wouldn't be able to open up new lines of soy sauce distribution. Madame Rose's visit to Chiba was to be carried out quietly. After all, it was being treated like nothing more than a personal meeting between Madame Rose and President Satomi. Also, someone acquainted with the other party had advised them that a huge procession with dozens of guards would give an unfavorable impression. Because of that, they decided to go with just 5 guards who had been frontline troops, led by Wayne. A car of guards traveled in front. Only Madame Rose's car traveled behind, making for a very short procession. Several cars back from Madame Rose's, a piece of junk car followed. Oliver was at the wheel, and the other 3 were with him.
Anyone here been to Chiba before? A long time ago we went, thinking we might be able to eat better there than City 23. But it was a total letdown. If you're gonna be an alley rat, Tokyo's the place to be.
Why? Because Tokyo was directly governed by the occupying forces. The countryside areas governed by the puppet Japanese government were very impoverished right after the war, it was said. There were rumors that the occupying forces intentionally divided up restoration budgets in a very uneven manner. By doing so, they would create the impression that they were more efficient at governing than the Japanese government. In addition, money and food had been thrown around left and right in the Tokyo and independent cities, where the Americans and the Chinese were competing with each other.
Right after the disaster, all the Japanese people said Tokyo would be taken over by the Americans and the Chinese, so they ran away to the countryside. But when people heard they'd be handing out bundles of dough, a lot of them rushed back to Tokyo. Well, I guess we sort of fit into that group.
However, the number of American and Chinese immigrants jumped quickly. With the frantic post-war reconstruction, the scenery started looking like a foreign country, and it became a city where Japanese wasn't understood. When that happened, Japanese people started leaving again.
And the people who still remained after that are the guys living in City 23 now. Even if it's full of English and Chinese, it really is easier to live in a big city. Just counting the number of trash bins, leftover meals, swipeable bags, and sitting ducks, Tokyo's on a whole different level.
If a city is poor, then the poverty of people living in alleys is even greater. In the end, no matter how foreign the environment is, it's easiest for people to live in cities. At some point, the scenery outside the window had changed into a completely different world, totally unlike City 23. Fields as far as the eye could see. However, it was hard to describe this as a peaceful, idyllic rural landscape. The fields were set up at random, like a patchwork quilt. The towns they could see were all groups of shacks around the ruins of old towns, built out of the tons of scrap wood and rubble left behind from the Great Disaster. And there was no comparison between this and the American-style skyscrapers that pierced the heavens of City 23. Even though they'd left the borders of City 23 less than an hour ago, it was a scene of unbelievable devastation and looked like something out of a previous era.
The occupying forces may have turned Tokyo into a different country with their crazy reconstruction. But without that, Tokyo would probably still be like this.
This is the real post-war Japan.
Apparently, people who talk about Japanese pride would still rather have it like this. Lots of people in the countryside will tell you that just looking at neon signs in English and Chinese gets on their nerves.
So, do you choose your Japanese pride and go to the poor countryside?
Or are you more like, yay, food? It's probably something like that.
So I guess it means that, after all, even though they're both Japanese, people living in Tokyo and people living in the countryside have very different views.
People in the countryside call us traitors who've sold our souls. They'll even say we're licking the American soldiers' shoes so they'll give us treats.
So say the people who are capable of eating without selling their souls.
I see.
So people's views can change that much, even when you just cross a single river between City 23 and Ichikawa. So it'll be a conference between a Chiba boss like that, and people like us, who are completely used to going by Western names. The Satomi Alliance had a history of controlling Chiba since before the war. President Satomi Yoshikage, who stood at the head of this organization, had maintained it even through this chaotic time and still protected its foundation in that region. He was an elderly, mellow man, born in the Meiji era. I can read. He had a hobby of collecting Japanese swords, liked Japanese clothing, and despised Western clothing. While he loved honor and compassion, it was said that he hated decadent foreign culture so much that he'd break out in hives. So Madame Rose, a person who was younger than his granddaughter and who used a Western-style name instead of her real name, would be meeting with a person like that. I see. These talks could be quite troublesome. Is City 23 desirable to the Satomi Alliance? If you can put up with the English and Chinese billboards, it's overflowing with goods and money. Madame Rose probably plans... Starting that one over. Madame Rose probably plans to use that as incentive to get him to put soy sauce into circulation. By now, it was hard for powers in the countryside to extend their influence into the new, practically foreign Tokyo. In particular, a nationalist group like the Satomi Alliance wasn't an organization Tokyo wanted to deal with. But even so, the wealth of cheap, imported American and Chinese goods was desirable. Also, it was likely President Satomi would have few objections to a plan to restore Japanese culture by bringing soy sauce to Tokyo. On a business level, there's room for things to go smoothly. The problem is whether an old man who hates foreigners will accept people like us when he thinks we've been getting rich by sucking up to American troops. Quietly, the line of cars raced through the patchwork rural landscape. Since this highway was also an artery between Tokyo and Chiba, there were several cargo trucks going down it too. Behind several of these trucks, there were also a few suspicious cars following Rose's group.
There's gotta be some sort of conference between Primavera and the Satomi Alliance.
I don't care what it is. She's hardly ever got so few guards around her.
If we take her down, we'll never get a better chance than if we want to take her down, we'll never get a better chance than this.
I swear I can read.
We'll make it look like the Satomi Alliance did it. Make absolutely sure you don't do anything that exposes our employer.
The car was packed with people who clearly weren't honest men. There was an odd sense about the men, a killing intent. Their eyes gleamed. It was easy to imagine that they were hitmen, sent by someone after Madame Rose's life. Primavera's adjustment of labor wages had an enormous effect on the surrounding cities. There were now frequent demonstrations and strikes by laborers in other cities, as they demanded wages on par with City 23. As a result, those greedy owners of special offers windows had been forced to make certain concessions to the laborers. To put it another way, the concessions they made were equal to what they lost from the profits of their wage swindling. There would be nothing strange about one of them returning the resentment and There would be nothing strange about one of them returning the resentment and targeting Madame Rose. The hitmen all appeared to be Japanese. However, there were so many possibilities about their employer, American, Chinese, someone from another city, that it was hard to guess. The cars entered Choshi City. This city, which had a prominent fishing harbor, was one of the most flourishing cities on the Pacific Ocean side of the Chiba Prefecture. The townscape included no traces of English or Chinese neon signs. I'd totally forgotten that scenes like this existed. The good old look of Japan, reminiscent of pre-war Tokyo, remained here. The countryside government had designated it as a city for high-priority reconstruction, and so the large reconstruction efforts here had produced results. Now I can understand why people who couldn't adapt to the new foreign Tokyo would choose to escape to the countryside. Choshi City felt like an all-Japanese city, but, of course, not everyone who lived in Chiba was Japanese. Immediately following the Great Disaster, large numbers of American Army transport ships landed on Kujukuri Beach and became the first wave of Japanese restoration. Because of that, the anti-American feelings in the area around Togano City weren't so strong, and a vast American town had been formed. So, those men of the sea who couldn't wipe away their mistrust of Americans went to Choshi, which might have created this pure Japanese atmosphere. The line of cars... It does say line. I tricked myself into thinking that I was wrong about what I was reading. The line of cars stopped on the outskirts of the port city. Their meeting with President Satomi was supposed to start in the evening. However, it was still just past noon. Were they planning to kill some time at some bar until the meeting started? Nope. They were here to meet a certain person before the conference. That person had acted as a mediator in setting up this meeting with President Satomi.
Wonder who it is. I can't believe they won't even tell us guards. Maybe it's some big shot from the old government who's been labeled as a war criminal.
Or it could be someone from the underworld who's so big, just speaking their name would be terrible.
I'm getting pretty nervous.
The car had stopped at a beat-up, slightly large Western-style restaurant. It probably served food during the day, alcohol during the night. The Western-style building would have looked natural in City 23, but it seemed a bit out of place in this city.
It's a bit seedy. If you were going to speak with some mysterious big shot, wouldn't you expect it to be in the lobby of a luxury hotel or something? That sort of thinking's probably because we've been poisoned by American and Chinese culture. Yeah, that might be true. Shh. It's Wayne-san.
Listen up closely. Madame Rose is about to meet a certain person in this restaurant. However, you are not to speak of this person. Don't talk about them, and forget you ever even saw them. If you let anything slip, I'll follow the law of the wolf and kill you.
Yes, boss.
right off the bat, he's making us incredibly tense. However, Madame Rose, the one who's actually supposed to meet this person, looks bright and cheery.
I never imagined I'd have one of you... Well, I'd have you as one of my guards, Zell. A pleasure working with you. And the same goes for the rest of you. Fear not, Madame Rose. We will protect you without fail. Thank you. But don't be so tense. We aren't going to meet anyone scary. It's a friend of mine.
Even though Wayne was threatening them, Rose said it was a friend. Who on earth could it be? I couldn't tell if I was nervous or just gaping. Let me just say where we were. Even though it was just afternoon, there was a surprisingly large number of guests in the restaurant. However, there wasn't a single private conversation. Everyone seemed to be quietly opening their hearts to the songstress on a small stage. It was a full voice, with the grandeur of one who knew all about life's joys and sorrows.
That's a wonderful voice. She's an incredible singer. You're better, Zell.
Let's pretend to be customers and get close to Madame Rose.
Yeah. Whether you're purse snatching or guarding, you've gotta blend in with the atmosphere.
Madame Rose walked up to the counter and ordered something. While the guards steadily formed a zone of safety around her, they were careful to always remain a step away, so as not to overemphasize their presence. It was necessary for the Primavera family's highest VIP to maintain her dignity, margin, and beauty, even when surrounded by enough guards to ensure her safety.
We could learn from them.
Yeah. They're nothing like bodyguards at cheap bars. They're what I want to be.
Look, IDQ Wayne's looking so cool. Even though he's looking casual, he's glancing about with no blind spots.
At that moment, Wayne's hand snuck into his pocket. He was clearly putting his hand on his gun. The four-person group looked around, startled, but they couldn't sense any approaching danger. The only difference was that a different man was standing behind the counter, bartender.
What's wrong? But he's supposed to be dead.
What are you talking about? Everyone thought he was dead. No one ever actually announced anything like that, but everyone assumed it, so that's what the word on the street said. Nina might have been ill-suited to be a lady of the evening, but she had just one skill that would have helped her there. She never forgot a face she had seen.
Father Caleb.
And there he is. And that's where we're gonna leave it for today, because that's also where I have to pick up next time. Haha. So yeah, thank you for watching this very weird episode. Sorry about all the delays and stuff. Yeah. Sometimes these things happen and everything goes wrong and oops. But it's okay, I fix.
It's okay, I fix. Yeah. No, we'll, let's just pretend that this was a normal episode and, you know, my little octopus jellyfish guy was never really here. Or was he? That's what the disguise is for, you know? Anyway. Yeah, we're gonna be back next time. Back on the usual schedule at last. It's been weeks, but, we're getting back into it very soon. That's in 2 days as of recording. By the time this is on YouTube, it'll be in 1 day. But yeah. Regular streams are going to be on Twitch, as usual. You know, just, live reading every Thursday at 8 PM Amsterdam time. And then, within a couple of days after that, I will upload the VOD to YouTube. So, yeah, we are almost done with Season 2. And after that, there's 2 more seasons, and I think a bit of bonus content that I should also have in the version that I got. So we're about halfway through-ish, almost. And yeah. Once this season is done, I'm just gonna continue on immediately with Season 3. So I hope you'll join me for that, and that you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for keeping up with the series, and that's it. I can't really do my whole normal sign-off, really. Or can I? Yeah, I can. Because it's just like, have a good day, week, year, month, decade, millennium. And thank you again so much for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.